Yes? Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to PIKO's fourth Online Kapihan. And as you can see, doon sa ating napakagandang PubMat. Ayan, okay, I can see myself. Okay, sa ating napakagandang PubMat, ang ating pag-uusapan today ay undergraduate studies journey ng ating very special guest na si Mr. Ace Apolonio. So, pag-uusapan natin ng iba't ibang scholarship opportunities para sa mga aspiring college students, aspiring na gusto mag-apply ng college dito sa South Korea. Okay? But before that, introduce muna natin sino ba yung PIKO. Kasi I'm sure marami dito sa ating mga viewers ang mga hindi pa nakakarating ng Korea, so hindi pa siguro familiar sa PIKO. So introduce muna namin ang aming sarili. So PIKO stands for Filipino e-scholars sa Korea. So kami ay isang organization na nag-assist po and nag-guide sa Filipino students currently enrolled or already accepted sa universities here in Korea. So marami tayong nakukuhang mga questions tungkol sa paano po ba mag-apply ng scholarships? Ano po bang scholarships ang ino-offer ng PIKO? Oops, hindi po tayo nag-offer ng scholarships. Separate entity po ang PIKO. Kami po ay isang organization lang na nagpo-provide ng camaraderie, di ba, sa mga estudyante na nag-aaral dito sa South Korea. Pero through avenues like this, mga online talks, online kapihan, mga general assemblies, you can get to know information regarding different opportunities here in South Korea. So katulad na lang nito, pwede namin kayong i-guide, pwede namin kayong bigyan ng information tungkol sa paano ba mag-apply, ano-ano ba available scholarships, ano ba ang GKS, etc., etc. So you'll get to know that later when you meet our special guest. Okay, so meron lang tayong pin-prepare na very short clip. Kesa nagsasalita ako dito, mas maganda na mapanood nyo kung ano ba talaga ang PIKO at ano ba talaga ang ginagawa ng PIKO dito sa South Korea. Yeah.
PIKO started out in the summer of 2005 when the labor attaché in the Philippine Embassy suggested that an organization of students is formed as they are already active Filipino migrant organizations in Korea. On its 16 years of existence, PIKO has been serving Filipino students all over South Korea. Also, the organization has connected with more students because of the creation of 9 regional chapters in different parts of the country. And to continue its vision and mission, the organization continues to conduct activities that promote unity and camaraderie, exchange of information, and studies between students. Other activities were dedicated to cultural events as well as social issues that concern the Filipino communities and the Philippines. The organization will continue to strive to become a better platform for students to express their thoughts and ideas, and PIKO will continue to raise the Philippine flag high and proud.
I wish to take this opportunity to first sincerely extend my congratulations to the newly elected members of PIKO's Executive Committee, led by...
Mabuhay ang lahat ng mga nagsipagtapos at mabuhay ang Pinoy Scholar sa Korea.
Whatever you learn, it's how you do what you do with your life.
Do not limit yourself talaga. If you want to pursue graduate school, then pursue.
We have a family in Korea. Thank you for inviting us to this big family.
I'm just as grateful na I have become a member of PIKO.
Welcome to the first ever Philippine Korean Youth Forum, and may you all have a pleasant day ahead.
I'm pleased and honored to once again have this opportunity to express the Philippine Embassy's support to our scholars in Korea, and I hope that PIKO will continue the momentum you have built in the past months to fully serve your members for the upcoming spring semester. I also wish to commend
ang GA ay isang pagkakataon kung saan pinag-uusapan ang mahalagang updates na nangyari sa ating organization.
It is my great pleasure and honor to be invited to this General Assembly and Acquaintance Party.
Bilang panghuli, kung ang mga OFW ating tinuturing ng mga bagong bayani at ang mga kabataan naman ng pag-asa ng bayan ayon kay Dr. Jose Rizal. Kaya marapat lamang na kilalanin din natin ang mga Pinoy scholars bilang mga bagong bayani na pag-asa ng bayan. Yun lamang po, maraming salamat.
Okay, hello. Narinig niyo po ba ako? Okay. Yes, ayan, narinig niyo na ako. So to everyone who watched the video, I'm sure na excited kayo to be part of PIKO kasi I'm very honored to be part of PIKO. Kaya sa mga nanonood na hindi pa member, saktong-sakto kasi meron po tayong General Assembly on October 2. That's 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Korea Standard Time. So register na po kayo para makasali. So link is on our Facebook page. Hanapin niyo lang po PIKO or Pinoy Scholar sa Korea and like niyo na rin po ang aming Facebook page para hindi kayo makamiss ng announcements. Okay, so belated introduction. Ako nga po pala si Bianca, part ng current execom ng PIKO and currently our business manager. Okay, so without further ado, kanina pa ako nagsasalita. Without further ado, I'm gonna introduce our main speakers of today. Okay, so we have our host and our special guest. So for our host, siya rin po ay isang member ng PIKO Execom, currently a fourth-year student, undergraduate student sa KAIST, located in Daejeon, South Korea. And she has been in Korea since 2015 and graduated high school from Korea Science Academy of KAIST in Busan. So she is also currently pursuing a major in chemistry and a minor in chemical and biomolecular engineering and is expecting to graduate next year. So that's February 2020. So let's all welcome Ms. Jamie Palma. She'll be our host for today. Thank you, Jamie, for agreeing to do this. Okay, and to introduce our very special guest, please welcome Mr. Ace Apolonio. So Ace is a recent graduate of Yonsei University, and he has a bachelor's degree in chemical and biomolecular engineering. He is also a president of a youth-led organization. That's one. Number two, a founder of a small startup. And he aspires to establish his own company in the future. Ayan, so makakakwentuhan natin sila pareho because both of them did their undergraduate degrees here in South Korea. So for anyone who has any questions, please feel free to type that in the comments section down below and we'll try our best to answer them. So ayan, di ko napapatagalan. I'll give the floor to you guys and let's just have a very chill chit-chat. Ano lang tayo, usap-usap lang. Okay? Sige, go guys.
Thank you for the introduction, Ate Bianca. Hi, so ngayon magkukwentuhan lang kami ni Ace about our experience as undergraduate students dito sa Korea. And I think hindi siya ganun ka-common. So if we have high school students out there na nanonood, feel free to ask any questions to us and we'll try our best to answer. So first, hi Ace.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ikaw, kamusta?
Okay naman. You're still in KAIST, right?
Yeah. I'm in campus right now. Ikaw,
ako
saan sa Korea?
Nasa tapat din ako ng Yonsei University, where I graduated.
Oh yeah, congrats again sa recent graduation.
Thank you for having me here in this session.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing to join us. I guess we can start with self-introduction. Pwede mo bang ikwento your background before coming to Korea?
Yeah, sure. So I actually passed GKS, previously known as KGSP, noong 2015. Pero that was my second try. Yung first try ko, nag-fail ako because I was not ready para sa interview. So for one entire year, I was looking for other scholarships abroad. Nag-apply ako sa Japanese, Malaysian, sa Chinese scholarships, but I failed all of them. And at the very last moment that I thought I wouldn't make it, I just decided to try it again. And for the second time, nag-apply ako sa GKS in 2015 and nakapasa ako, fortunately. Dahil nag-prepare talaga ako for one entire year. Nag-aral ako ng Korean writing, apply ako sa maraming competitions abroad. I actually even went to a competition in Kyoto University in Japan. And all those experiences, inad ko lang sila ng inad hanggang sa para sa second application ko, wala na silang masabi at ako na lang talaga yung tanggapin nila. And that's what happened. When I was in the interview, they said, "Oh, you already have everything." So in the interview, they asked me only a few questions and it was done. And then after a week, tinawagan ako ng isang lady sa Embassy of Korea in the Philippines, and they said, "You passed GKS and you're going to South Korea." And that moment was the defining moment that I had, because I know that at that moment my life would definitely change, and it did for the better. Yeah.
That's very inspiring. Why did you choose to try again sa GKS?
Because at that time, first of all, my family, we were not middle class families. We were low income families. So my parents at that time, they didn't have jobs. So wala silang trabaho. So hindi nila kayang i-support yung education ko at that time. And for a moment, we had this family argument na, I need to study. Why can't you support me? And something like that. It's a very personal matter. But I just decided na if they can't do anything for me, kung hindi nila kayang gawin yun, so ako na lang yung gagawa ng paraan. Because that's the reality. Maraming mga estudyante sa Pilipinas ang mahihirap. Likas na matiyaga, likas na matalino, likas na hardworking, pero resources ang wala sa kanila. And I was one of those students. I knew that I had talent in me because my teachers in high school always believed in what I can be. And nag-apply talaga ako nung 2015 and pinursigo ko talaga yung application for the second time because I knew I was one step away from getting it. Nakapasa na ako ng document screening. Interview na lang ang kailangan ko ipasa. Nag-fail ako sa interview kasi ninervyos ako. Naalala ko ninervyos ako sa interview. I was mind-blocked. So for one entire year, I promised to myself, magpe-perform talaga ako ng maigi sa interview. Magpa-practice ako every week, every month ng interview. And I did that for one entire. My friends saw my hard work throughout the 1 year na nag-practice ako. So pagdating nung interview day sa embassy, I could feel that I owned it. So I feel like I was really proud of myself from what I did at that time. Yeah.
Salamat sa pag-share. Then nung nakarating ka na sa Korea, let's talk about how it was when you first came. Saan yung university mo and how was your experience?
Okay, so yung GKS undergraduate scholarship kasi is a 5-year scholarship program. So 1 year Korean language training and 4 years undergraduate program. Yung 1 year Korean language training sa ibang university siya. Mm-hmm. So I was designated to Yonsei University sa Busan City. So I was there for 1 year and nag-aral ako ng Korean language. Pero of course, pagdating ng Korea, everything was new. I couldn't even say annyeonghaseyo in a proper way. Kahit anong I learned writing before, but speaking was entirely new thing to me. So hindi ko maintindihan kahit anong sabihin sa akin ng mga tao sa paligid ko. So, and at that time, hindi ako masyadong confident sa English ko rin. So, kasi we didn't really practice it in high school as an everyday language. Pero by the first month, I realized I really have to commit to studying Korean. So nag-aral talaga ako ng Korean, nag-focus ako ng Korean. And after just 6 months, I already got TOEIC level 4. And after another 6 months, TOEIC level 5 hanggang sa I could converse in everyday language na sa mga native Korean.
I see. Yeah, I understand kung gaano kahirap, lalo na sa Busan ka first nagstay. I also had my high school in Busan and kinakausap nila kami in Korean. Hindi rin ako marunong mag-Korean when I first came. Tapos, I realized later on na mas mahirap pala sa Busan kasi may sarili silang dialect and accent.
Yeah.
So
I think it's Satori. I think.
Yeah, right.
They call it Satori. So, yeah, I realized that kasi yung mga tao sa Busan, they speak like a different dialect. Kagaya sa Philippines, kapag nagpunta ka ng ibang isla, di ba, may sarili silang dialect. Ganon din sa Korea, pag napunta ka ng ibang city, may iba silang dialect. So, may differences na maririnig ka. Kaya, nung nag-aral ako ng Korean sa Busan, I could understand fast Korean. So, when I went to Seoul for the first time, I was surprised kasi why are they speaking Korean so slow? Suddenly, naintindihan ko na lahat na sinasabi nila kasi nasa Busan ako na I was exposed to a different kind of Korean dialect na very fast. Kaya pagdating ko ng Seoul, it was easier. Yeah.
I see. So after nung Busan sa Seoul ka, Yonsei there, right? Yonsei University.
Yonsei University, yeah.
What did you major in and bakit yung major na yun?
I majored in chemical and biomolecular engineering. So, sa ibang bansa, 5 years yan. Pero sa Korea, 4 years. So, I chose it kasi I can be in many different industry. I can be in the chemical, I can be in the medical or biology industry. So I can choose where I want to go. And if I want to be more specific, I can go for master's and I will have many choices. If I chose a more specific major in undergraduate, for example, molecular biology, that's too specific. So if I decided to go for master's, mahirapan akong maghanap ng specific laboratory. Or if I decided to apply for a job, there's only a limited industry or field where I can be accepted. So I thought maybe it's better to get a general or broad degree and at the same time an engineering degree. And engineering is a kind of it's under the natural science and engineering, which is prioritized by South Korea. So may mga special privileges, for example, getting visas. They have these requirements that if you studied natural science or engineering, you have points to get a visa easier. So all those things I planned ahead even before coming to Korea. So I wouldn't regret anything, and I did not. Yeah.
I see. So dun sa Yonsei, were the classes in English ba o Korean?
In my case, because chemical and biomolecular engineering in Yonsei is one of the most difficult majors in Yonsei. They have 50%, almost 50% English and 50% Korean. In fact, I think by now they have 70% English versions of the Korean classes. And I just happened to have found those classes and got enrolled into them. So most of my classes were in English.
I see. Naging mahirap pa ba sa'yo yung like language barrier in Yonsei after your 1 year as KGSP scholar?
I don't think so kasi I'm not that type of person na I approach so many people or I have a big circle of friends. I just prefer to have small circle of friends, and they just happen to be foreigners. So I think that's a kind of a natural phenomena with foreign students in South Korea, right? Whether or not you want to have a bigger circle of friends, you will end up having small circle of friends who are mostly foreigners because you share the same culture of being a foreigner in South Korea. Although, meron din naman akong mga friends na Korean, pero not as close as my foreigner friends. So I just used English and I just got accustomed to it. That's why I really didn't find any trouble with communication. But sometimes I had trouble communicating with my professors because some of them couldn't speak English really well. So that's when I had to speak in Korean. Kaya medyo nahirapan ako banda doon. At lalo na sa mga electives na in Korean. So hindi lang naman kasi biology or engineering yung pinag-aaralan natin sa university, may mga electives na required, right? So yung mga classes na yun, in Korean sila, and hindi siya normal na Korean na everyday language, academic Korean siya. So napakahirap aralin nun. So naturally, yung grade ko medyo mababa. I expected it, but yeah, I passed.
I see. Yeah, just to share then, if our viewers are interested, dito sa Korea, there are some universities no na fully English, like dito sa KAIST, and I heard sa UNIS din, pinopromote nila na 80 to 100% English yung classes. But do you know about kung paano sa Seoul de tsaka sa Yonsei de?
That's kind of interesting because at that time na nakapasa ako sa GKS, wala silang ganong options. Walang options na, di mo makikita kung ilang percent na English or ilang percent na Korean yung isang program. They just gave it to us and we just came to know na ganito nga kung Korean ba siya or English. Pero kaya nga, I think napakaswerte ng mga nag-apply these days kasi ngayon malalaman nila in advance kung ilang percent yung English taught courses at ilang percent yung Korean taught courses. So these days kasi mas in-increase din na ng number ng mga university ang number of English taught classes in order to accommodate foreigners and also to participate in globalization. So, mas maraming English taught classes na right now compared nung pumasok ako sa Korea. So, I don't know about Seoul or Seoul National University, but in Yonsei, every semester, halos 20% of the overall courses get more English versions. So, every year, nagdadagdag sila ng mga English taught courses.
I see. Yeah, that's good to hear. And also, yeah, did you have generally, may iba ka pa bang difficulties studying in Korea as an undergrad? Kasi it's a young age relatively to go out of the Philippines, diba? What was your experience with that?
So when I was in Yonsei University, of course, it wasn't easy because Yonsei is one of the top and prestigious universities in South Korea. I'm competing with the best students in South Korea. Some of them even perfected the national exam. So I'm with those students. So obviously, it was not a really easy journey in Yonsei. In fact, I failed so many classes. And I had to extend one semester because I had to retake those failed classes because they were so difficult. And one of the most difficult part of it is the fact that I was not part of the K-12 program back in the Philippines when I graduated in high school. And that simple fact affected me throughout my experience in Korea because without having the K-12 program, that means I missed 2 years of mathematics. So when I arrived in South Korea, Koreans already have advanced calculus while I was only knowledgeable about the basics of trigonometry. So nung pumasok ako ng Yonsei, I had to study 3 times the effort of a Korean in order to just cope up with what they're learning. So I actually failed my math classes. So it was not an easy journey. There were times that niisip ko na lang, maybe I should just return to my country kasi I really couldn't perform well in my country. I remember I was one of the top students, but in Korea, I'm one of the lowest students. So there's this kind of imposter syndrome that I felt throughout my 4 years in Yonsei University, that I didn't deserve to be here. I'm having so low grades, and I just realized that it's normal, especially from engineering students like myself. I asked my seniors. They said it's normal to fail classes as long as you can take it again, take it again. So that's what I did. I took my classes and then just persevered for another semester, and I graduated this August. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate dun sa imposter syndrome. Like, yung system sa Korea, I think is much more pressure kesa sa Pilipinas, and it was like really hard to adjust talaga at the start.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Kasi yung mga Koreans, syempre nag-aral sila throughout high school just to prepare for university. So pagdating nila ng university, all these classes just came natural to them. It's not even a huge task to them. They can easily perform well. But for us foreigners, especially for me who didn't have that K-12 program in high school, I had to do 3 times, 4 times the effort of a single Korean student just to pass my class, my class, not even do well. I was not even looking to do well, looking forward to doing well. I was just looking forward to passing my class. That was my priority. It was kind of sad because I thought I'm losing my interest in my field or my major, but fortunately I didn't. And now actually I'm still planning to go back to the academy or to university someday.
I see. Yeah, that's good to hear. I guess another important thing then there's this sense of competition with the Koreans. I learned kind of late to remove myself from that competition and just like compete with myself kesa i-pressure ko yung sarili ko.
Yeah, that's true. I think it just came also natural for them to have that competitive atmosphere because that's their life since high school. It's just competition. Who gets to the best universities, right? And in college, they also brought that to the atmosphere. So everyone is just on their own. You need to perform well on your own, and especially if may grading system kasi, di ba, may dalawang grading system, the curve and the absolute. So even the absolute grading system in Yonsei University, it's not completely absolute. So it also depends on the performance of others, and not just within your class, but the other classes as well. So you're not just competing with the students in your class, you're competing with students in other classes. So imagine that kind of competitive environment. So for 4 years, I had to endure that. In Philippines, that's one of the things I missed in the Philippines, because in high school, for example, even in university, there's nothing like that. Everybody just enjoys studying together, right? But in Korea, yeah, you study together, but in the end, if you fail, you fail. No one's gonna, help you with that. And as a foreigner, that's just another obstacle that I had to face.
Yeah. Pero despite all these challenges academically and being a foreigner, why did you choose to come to Korea in the first place instead of other countries? And why did you decide to stay din sa 4 years na yun?
Part of it kasi is my father worked in South Korea before for 8 years. I learned about South Korean culture quite early when I was a kid. So I had this interest about the Korean culture. But on top of that, I also didn't have much choice because I failed other scholarship applications abroad. Like I said, nagtry ako ng Japanese, Malaysian, and Chinese, and I didn't get it. So I felt like I'm behind. In fact, I was left behind back then because nung time na nakapasok na ako sa Yonsei University, which is 2017, that's the year my peers in high school graduated from university.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really left behind. But I just treated it as a new beginning, and that I could be finally me and according to what I want to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess talking more about the application process, how did you decide na sa Yonsei mo gusto mag-aral?
So, nag-apply kasi ako nun sa embassy through GKS. So, we had 3 choices for universities. I chose Yonsei University, Chonbuk National University, and I think the third one was Konyang University. So, at that time, I had that 3 choices because it exposed me to 3 level of competitions. Yonsei is one of the top.
Right.
And Chonbuk is a state national or state university, and Konyang is one of the least known universities in other in the regional areas. So by having that kind of strategy, I thought I would get exposed to different levels of competition, so that if I fail Yonsei, I would have a better chance in Chonbuk, and if I fail Chonbuk, I would have a better chance in Konyang. And that's what happened. I didn't expect I passed all of them. So I had that dilemma back then. I still remember I had a dilemma for 1 month which university I should choose. I knew I wouldn't like to be in Konyang because I realized that the curriculum I chose was the wrong one. So I had to choose only between Chonbuk and Yonsei. And I chose Yonsei because of the opportunities that comes along with it. If you graduate from a top university in South Korea, first of all, you can easily get a work visa or a resident visa. Second of all, you can easily get into the master's programs in the same university or in other universities in South Korea, for that matter. And also, not only that, you can also easily apply to master's programs abroad. So even before I came to Korea, I had that plan in my head that after Yonsei, I will go to another country or to another university to pursue masters, because I believe in continuing the leverage that I already have. So I don't want to leave that behind. I already started in this kind of leverage. I want to increase that by getting a master's degree and then eventually PhD, which eventually my goal is to be competitive in the job market.
I see. And talking about yung GKS scholarship, how did you get to know about it, and what were the requirements for you?
So I first got to know about GKS in 2014 by searching on Google, because at that time I realized almost every country has their own fully funded government scholarship. You just need to search the name of the country and then government scholarship. So for example, Turkish government scholarship program, and they will have it. Most countries will have it. And fortunately, I got to know about GKS because at that time, medyo famous na yung GKS. So at that time, KJSP pa yung tawag. So I searched about it and I saw all the requirements that it's really basic. There's no exam compared to Japanese and Chinese scholarship na may exam. Sa KJSP, sa GKS, walang exam. You just need to submit an essay, a well-written essay, and perform well in the interview. And I thought, okay, maybe this is kind of easier to pass compared to others that I already failed. And it was not easy in the beginning, but in my second try, I managed to do it. So yeah, the requirements is just basic birth certificate, essay, study plan, and yeah, you can take a look at the guideline para makita nyo yung requirements.
Some of the common questions we get, kailangan ba na may TOEFL, IELTS, or any other English proficiency exam?
For GKS, if you looked at the guideline, they say that they will give 10% or 10% additional points to those who will have TOPIK.
Right.
But
Pero hindi required yung TOPIK.
language proficiency or exams are not required, but they can be an advantage if you are competing with already competitive students. For example, some students have really good awards or school or background or activities in high school. How can you compete with those students? So the only way to compete is to maximize your application, add more things that you can add. If you can add a language proficiency exam, then add it. If you can write a good essay, then write it. So that's what I had in mind when I was applying. I just thought, okay, what else can I improve in my application? What else can I add? So nagdagdag lang ako ng dagdag, and it made me pass GKS.
Yeah. And from that experience, what would you say ay yung most critical or important requirement for college scholarship applications, like for GKS and maybe generally if you have
I think the most important is having a really good and well-written essay. And a lot of students, so many students, don't know how to write them, because the way we were taught in high school how to write an essay is to have this kind of template, like you have a topic and then you have to explain it, blah blah blah, and it's most of us were not taught how to write a scholarship essay, and it's very different from a normal essay that we were taught in high school. So at that time I really spent so much time studying the previous scholars essays. I searched for sample scholars essays on Google and the scholarship essays of people or students from other countries like Harvard University students, Princeton students, and I studied what made their essay strong, and then I applied all those tips into my own essay until I made an essay that I couldn't edit anymore. I thought it was the perfect essay, and it's the essay that made me pass GKS. So yeah, the essay is, I think, the most important part of it, because yun yung unang makikita ng mga ng committee. Hindi kanila muna makikita sa camera or kukontakin. Ang makikita nila sa'yo is yung essay mo, yung story mo. So if you have a well-written essay, they will move you into a batch where they can meet you in person during the interview. And that's the goal. And it's the same with job interviews. You write a well-written resume in order to get into the interview. So in scholarship applications, the same. You write a well-written essay in order to get into the interview, so that during the interview, you can finally show who you are completely.
Yeah. Din sa essay ba ng GKS, was there a prompt or like was it?
Yeah, there's a prompt, but then again, not a lot of students don't know how to organize them in a good form. And 2 pages of essay is a long essay. How do you actually write a good essay that long? So that's the challenge. That's the main challenge that students face.
Yeah, I guess it's more on a challenge of showing yourself yung interest tsaka yung passion mo, bakit kanila dapat tanggapin in just 2 pages.
Yeah, and also how do you sell yourself? So you're the product here. If you're applying for scholarship, you're the product. How do you sell yourself to these people? Because remember, there are thousands of students applying. How do you separate yourself from those thousands of students? So that's the challenge. You can write all the best awards in the world, put it in your essay, you can still fail because you don't know how to actually write a good story that can actually captivate the committee's hearts and minds. So it really comes down to how you present and sell yourself in an effective and captivating way.
Yeah, and I guess we also have some questions about other scholarships. May iba ka bang scholarship na alam or mai-recommend to high school students who want to study in Korea?
Specifically in Korea, or
I guess let's do both. Let's do it in
Okay,
Korea
so
first.
in Korea, there are about, for undergraduates, let's focus on undergraduates
Okay,
first.
yeah.
There aren't many fully funded scholarship for undergraduates.
Mm-hmm.
It's only through GKS that you can get a fully funded scholarship where you don't have to pay anything. But there are also partial scholarships offered by the universities, which are most likely not affordable to a common student in the Philippines. So I really wouldn't suggest taking that unless you really want to commit to a life in Korea where you have to spend so much, because living in Korea is very expensive, especially in Seoul, where I am right now. So for graduate level applicants, there are many options. There are, first of all, government scholarships, institutional scholarships, and scholarships offered by the professors themselves in the specific laboratories. So there are more options for graduate level applicants. So as you know, GKS offers fully funded scholarship program. The institutions also offer sometimes fully funded scholarship programs or a specific amount per semester. So there are many institutions like the University of Science and Technology.
Right, yeah.
I think they offer research.
Masters and graduate.
Yeah, and masters and graduate, masters and
Masters
PhD
and
level. That's one of the famous institutional scholarships that they can search. There are many more that they can search. Just search institutional scholarships on Google, and then you can search for other institutions aside from UST. But there are also options where you can just email the professor in a specific university and ask if you can be part of the laboratory. But that's more challenging because you have to come from abroad. So they might think that it's difficult for you to move to South Korea. And also the funding might also be limited. So you have to ask all those details to the professors and prepare yourself to maybe pay for living cost. Sometimes they shoulder the tuition or half of the tuition, but most of the time they don't. So there are also they only support some amount, and they pay you some amount per month when you are part of a laboratory. So there are three options for graduate level applicants.
Yeah, I just wanted to add for undergrad. So there's government scholarships, the GKS scholarship, and also there's some institutional ones that are fully funded. Yung sa akin is in KAIST, which is in Daejeon, and it's like full tuition coverage, and we have a stipend every month also. But it's like smaller than the GKS scholarship. Pero it's like still you don't have to pay as much, and I heard UNIST has the same one, but besides those I'm not sure about other ones. As Ace said, it's kind of limited for undergrad. Yeah. What about if we want to briefly talk about other scholarships abroad for undergrads that you can recommend?
Like I mentioned earlier, you just need to search for government scholarship, name of the country, and then government scholarship. Most of the times you will see one link that will bring you to that specific scholarship. But some of the famous ones include MEXT, which is the Japanese scholarship program, and the Chinese government scholarship program, as well as the Hungarian or Stipendium Hungaricum scholarship program, and also the Turkish scholarship program. So Turkey, Hungary, Japan, China, those are the most common fully funded scholarships in Asia. But there are also scholarships in the UK and in the United States, but they are much more complicated due to visa and all.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add, I found the Korea one kind of more unique. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, pero yung sa akin, there's no bond to the scholarship. Like, you don't have to work in the country, or like they don't require you to go back home for a certain number of years. Yeah, I know some other scholarships like yung sa Singapore may bond to work there. Yeah, does GKS have a bond or no?
No, GKs don't have that. Actually, that's an interesting story because my classmates in Yonsei University in the chemical engineering department, they were part of a institutional scholarship in their country in Malaysia, and they had this bond that they have to work in Malaysia for like 5 or 10 years. I think 5 years, and that's a lot. You don't have a choice to go out of the country. So one of the perks of being a GKS scholar is not having that kind of bond that you have to stay wherever they want.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really grateful for the government of South Korea to offer this kind of opportunity for students like us.
Yeah, and I guess before we move on to Q&A, we have quite a bit of questions from our audience. What would be your advice to aspirants, high school students who want to study undergrad abroad?
Para sa mga high school student na gustong mag-apply abroad, first decide if you really are prepared to study abroad, because you're not just going abroad to study, you're also going to live there, and it's not easy. And as a young person, you might not have this in the back of your mind. So first decide if you really can be independent to live abroad. Secondly, what do you want to study? And third, prepare all the necessary documents and have as much activities as you can related to your intended major, so that you can easily write a good essay and perform well in the interview. So other than that, I think studying and living abroad is one of the best experiences that you can do in your life, because it really changes you. Like nung nasa Pilipinas ako, I was like a shy, not really shy, but not performing well in school. And I just want to pass my classes and enjoy with my friends. I really didn't have that vision of what I would do in the future. But once I came in Korea, I had suddenly there were opportunities in front of me that just opened. And once you are in that position, you can be creative to do so many things. For example, I could found an organization in Yonsei University, a climate change organization, which is funded by the university. And I also had the opportunity to publish a book or to start a startup company. So all these opportunities just opened up to me because I came here to Korea. If I were in the Philippines, I might not have it, because that's the reality. There weren't many opportunities in the Philippines, but I hope so in the future there will be more, so that we don't have to go abroad just to get a good education.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your advice. And I think we can move on to our Q&A. Yeah, so we have some questions here. Some of the frequently asked questions we get and some questions we got from the comments. First, I'm currently a grade 12 student and gusto kong mag-apply for college sa South Korea. Pwede po ba akong mag-apply to study in South Korea?
Anong grade na siya ulit?
Grade 12.
Yeah. If you are graduating, as per GKS regulation, if you're graduating before March 1st, 2022, then you can apply for GKS.
What's the timeline like? Like, kailan sila dapat magsimulang mag-prepare?
You should be preparing now, because they just opened the applications, and it will end. So every embassy and every university has their own deadline, because there are two tracks where you can apply to. You can apply to embassy track or to the university track. Embassy track, you apply to the embassy first. For university track, you apply to the university first. So
Mhm.
every university and every embassy has their own deadline, but they usually end by mid or late October.
Mhm.
So if you just got to know about it now, you have about 1 month to prepare, and that's not a lot of time. Some of my friends and my students in my startup, they started preparing 8 months ago.
Mhm.
So by this time, they're just finishing up their applications and figuring out how to print their applications. So yeah, you should be preparing now if you're planning to apply.
Mhm. Yeah. And I guess it's also yung start sa Korea, it's either spring or fall, right? When did you start pala? Was it in spring or fall?
For undergraduates, the start is spring semester, which is
Mhm.
March.
Mhm.
But for graduate level applicants, they start on the fall semester, which is September.
Mhm. Yeah. So there's like different application cycles for GKS. I'm not.
Yes, yeah. So the one I mentioned was for undergraduate, but for graduate level applicants, the start of application is on February.
Mhm. Okay. And next question, may maintaining grade po ba na kailangan para makapag-apply?
Yes. There's two grade requirements that you need to satisfy. First, the grade requirement by NIED, the National Institute of International Education, which is a provider of your scholarship under GKS, and also the grade requirement of the university itself. Usually, the requirement of NIED is low. I think it's 75% or 70%. I forgot, but along those lines. But for the university requirement, it's usually higher, which is about 75 or 75, I think. But it, in talking about that, there are actually students who fail their scholarships. So they return back to their country because they couldn't satisfy those grade requirements. So just because you're already in South Korea and just because you receive the scholarship under GKS doesn't mean you're gonna last with that and are gonna end up having a degree. It's a challenge as well to maintain those grades, especially if you're studying in one of the top schools like myself. Yonsei is a very competitive school. Seoulde and Koreode, those are very competitive schools. So I heard stories from other students who had to return back to their country at the middle of their scholarship program when they're already third year or second year, and they just wasted a lot of time. So you really need to think ahead of time if you can really study in this kind of competitive environment.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking about the university scholarships like Geist and Eunice, I'm not sure if there's a grade you require para makapag-apply, pero yeah, this year they removed the requirement for standardized testing also. So all you have is your grades. So the suggestion would be to like keep it up as much as you can. And if you're not confident, as Ace said, spend time on your essay because that's one of the most important parts besides the grades. Yeah, and tapos yung maintaining for our scholarship is 2.0, which is not too challenging to maintain. Yeah, pero it's still pretty competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we answered this earlier, right? Ano po ang mga requirements and kailan best magsimulang mag-prepare?
Yeah, I think we answered that.
Yeah. So yes, prepare now if you haven't yet, and check the websites for the deadlines and the requirements specifically. Kung hindi po ba marunong mag-Korean, pwede rin bang mag-apply para mag-college sa South Korea?
Yes, like I said, Korean language and English language proficiency are optional. In fact, there are students who don't know English or Korean and they still pass GKS.
Yeah.
That's why there is a 1-year Korean language training for you to know Korean.
Yeah, basically they don't require you to know any Korean when you get here, pero it's best to learn while you're here, or even before if possible, kasi a lot of the conversation outside of university happens in Korean, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to be easier for you to adjust if you have the mindset na you're willing to learn the language.
Yes, that's true.
And yeah, so you don't need topic to apply. For TOEFL and other English language exams, it's also optional, right?
Yeah. But like I said, just because it's optional doesn't mean you can just, forget about it. If you can really get it, just get it and add it to your application. Because GKS, a lot of students don't know this, but GKS is a point-based system. So they have this criteria that they follow, and they just add points. And it's you can see it on the guidelines. So they said specifically 10% of the criteria will be allotted for the TOPIK exam. So basing from that, the entire scholarship is a point-based system, and that's how they evaluate students. So they give points for the essay, they give points to number of awards or the level of awards and such. So the more things you can put in your application, the more points you will get. So just because language proficiency exams are optional, you can just forget about them. If you can afford them, just take them.
Right. And okay, we have another question. Is it possible to apply during the pandemic?
Yes.
So scholarships and college applications are still open. Yeah, though there might be visa issues when you get accepted because of the pandemic. Pero the applications are all open, right?
For regular university applications, I think there might be some limitations. But for government scholarships like this, there are some special privileges for those who will pass, like easy visa processing. So that's the difference.
Yeah. And may age limit ba to apply?
For undergraduate, the age limit is, as far as I know, is 25. So, and that's very strict. Even one day na pagka birthday mo and then nag-apply ka, you can't apply because they need to follow strict regulation on the rules. So yes, for undergrad it's 25. For graduate level, I think it's 45. So make sure you're reading the guideline. All the eligibility requirements are written in the guideline. So just read them.
And yeah, this one we answered already. Mahirap po ba makakuha ng student visa? Yeah, as Ace said, it's easier, right, for GKS?
Yeah, it's easier for scholarship awardees in general, not just GKS. If you're a scholarship awardee from an institution in South Korea, it's going to be easier because they're going to expedite the process of visa. But for regular university applications, that there might be some limitations.
Yeah, as far as I know, for KAIST and UNIS, there might still be limitations, as in they're not giving out visas yet. But yeah, we're hoping for updates on that in the future. But yeah. Okay, we have a question here from the comments. Were you still supported financially by GKS for your 1 semester extension?
No. So my scholarship ended at my eighth semester. So what happened in my last semester was my Yonsei University offered to pay my tuition because there's some extra scholarship for GKS scholars in Yonsei. So every university might have it or might not have it. In my case, I had it. So they paid for my last semester's tuition. I just had to pay the living cost. So yeah.
I see. I think we have a related question. What is the average living cost in the university and not covered by the scholarship?
In Seoul, it depends on the city, first of all. But in Seoul, generally, living cost would be $1,000 per month, including the rent. So rent, food, both transportation, $1,000. That's about 50,000 pesos, I think.
Yeah, right.
So it's very expensive to live in Seoul. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Speaking from a cheaper city, I live in Daejeon right now, and yeah, we're given like $350 per month, and generally it fits all your living costs in Daejeon, because I think our rent and food is cheaper. So yeah, it depends on the city.
How much is the? So you're staying in dormitory?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm living outside the university, so
I see.
yeah.
Even like while you were in university?
Mm-hmm. I just in Yonsei, during first year kasi, sa ibang campus kami, sa Incheon.
Oh,
So
right.
required lahat ng first years to be in a dormitory. But
Mhm.
after that, second year, you can choose to be in dormitory or not. But I realized that it's more expensive to be in dormitory because you also have to pay for your food at the same time, and there's not much freedom to cook everything that you want. So I decided to just, and also I don't want to live with someone else again, because you just realize as you grow older that it's better to just live alone and do whatever you want. So I live in front of the university in a boarding house. In Korean, it's called hasukjib. And I prefer that because I could cook on my own, and sometimes the landlord, the old lady, will cook for you as well. So that's one of the good things in living in a hasuk. And it's much cheaper. There are hasuk with low deposits, like 1,000 or 2,000 deposits. So compared to apartments, sa mga apartment may kailangan 10,000.
Oh wow.
10 million won. 10 million won ang ano nila deposit. So I decided to live in a boarding house.
I see. Yeah. Pero generally it's still cheaper in areas outside Seoul, even outside.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Here I have seniors living outside and their monthly rent is like 300,000, 250,000. So yeah, it's a lot cheaper. And let's see. We have a question asking, do you think the ones that are close to the embassy in relationship wise get more chance? I guess kung may connection ka sa embassy.
I don't know about the connections, but I don't think so. They all process it all the same way.
Yeah. And as you said, may point system says requirements, right? Yeah. Okay. Question. Does the Department of Chemical Engineering at Yonsei University require an undergraduate thesis and plant design as final requirements?
There's no thesis requirement for undergraduates. We had a design class where we had to present a project in a team, and that's all about it. We just had to write a short, I think it's called a review article. So we had to write a review article, which is similar to writing a short research paper.
Right.
So that's all we had to do, because undergraduates in South Korea, they don't really think of them like in a very professional level. You have to be in master's or graduate level in order to do thesis. Although there are some majors that might have thesis, it's not those high level thesis where you have to publish it in a journal or somewhere. So we didn't have a thesis requirement.
I see. What was the topic of your review paper?
I can remember it's about plant design. So so we had to design a kind of plant in order to efficiently manufacture or produce some kind of oil. I forgot the type of oil that we decided to do, but we had to study some software that we had to design a plant. So yeah, that's what I could remember.
I see. Yeah, I guess from a perspective from guys then, kasi Yonsei University has like all different majors, right? Like engineering, science, business, and everything. But in specialized universities like KAIST and UNIST are technically institutes, research institutes. So yeah, we are required to do graduation thesis before graduating. Pero similar as you, like we get to choose to do a review. Pero if you want to do research, you can like pursue a research project with a professor.
Yeah, I think for like you said, for research institutes like KAIST and UNIST, you have that option to have resources to perform research. I wish we had that in Yonsei, but unfortunately we didn't. But at the same time, I'm glad we didn't because it's already difficult to study my major. And having another thesis is just a headache. So yeah.
So it depends on the university and depending on which one you want to choose. Like, research wise, I would say institutions like KAIST and UNIST would be good for you. Yeah. Paano po if last 2018 yung high school graduation and ngayon college ako pero di pa graduate? Can I apply for this GKS program?
College na siya?
College na
College siya ngayon?
College siya ngayon pero hindi pa siya gumagraduate.
Yes, you can. When I applied for GKS, I was already in second year in university in the Philippines. So
basta below yung age limit of 25, right? Pwede. Okay. Pero sa ganun ba, does the credits get transferred or do you start as first year?
Yeah, you have to start again to first year, freshman year.
Yeah, I see. We have a similar question. Freshman in a university in the Philippines, and I'm hoping to study in Korea. Oh, we kind of answered this. For my junior and senior year, will it be possible to apply only for 2 years as a transferee scholar, or should I finish my undergrad here and then take masters in South Korea after?
Freshman in a university.
Yes. Gusto niyang mag-aral sa Korea for junior and senior year of college.
As a normal university student, not under any scholarship? So,
I'm not sure.
If this person is not planning to apply for scholarship, then yeah, you can. You can continue studying in any university in the world, but you have to pay for yourself. But I would suggest just complete it in your own country, or in this case in the Philippines, I guess. So just finish it in the Philippines and then apply for a scholarship in South Korea. It's much easier to do that.
Yeah. Since for scholarships you can't really transfer, you have to start again from first year.
Yeah.
And I guess there are more master's scholarship opportunities than in South Korea.
Actually, the other student who came with me when in South Korea, the other student who passed GKS at the same time with me, she was already a fourth year student in the University of the Philippines, and she went back to freshman because of the scholarship. So you really have to return to first year.
Right. Okay, let's answer this question first. Does the scholarship or university allow students to take part-time jobs?
Yes, but there are strict regulations. First, you need to get permission from the university, and then the university will give you a form that you can fill up and submit to the immigration. And there are only limited hours and limited types of jobs that you can apply for. So yeah, the immigration really takes it seriously about students doing part-time jobs in South Korea. So it is possible. You just need to get permission.
Yeah, I guess it's more on the student visa. I know the immigration office allows you like a certain number of hours per month, and you get
Usually
more,
it's 20 hours per week.
Yeah,
And usually that 20 hours is during the vacation.
right.
So I think they don't allow part-time work during the semester. That's what I remember. You can only do part-time job during vacation, and it's only 20 hours maximum per week in certain areas.
Right. In my experience, I was allowed to do part-time jobs in campus. So that was
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
in that
separated.
case, yeah, you can do part-time job easily and freely inside the campus because it's related to your academic career. So they just the point is they just don't want students to be distracted in their academic
Right.
studies. So they had that limitation on hours.
Yeah. So yeah, short answer, yes, but limited.
Yeah.
And next question is, what are the things we should be careful of when writing an essay? Common mistakes that we might do during the applications.
There are so many things that I want to say about that, but we can't because we have limited time. But generally, what I would say is to first have a structure, a good structure, and a good story as well. It's that essay is not just a regular essay. It's an academic piece of literature that that everyone can go back to in case you win a Nobel Prize, for example. They will read that, right? So you need to write a really inspiring and captivating story in essay format. And that essay should be really personal because it's called a personal statement. So it has to be personal. It's not just a list. It's not just a grocery list of your achievements. It has to be, it has to contain your personality, your activities in high school or in university, your weaknesses and strengths, your failures, and your motivations, your deeper motivations and visions in life. All of those details must be inside of that personal statement. And the challenge is, for most students, they don't know how to write that in organized way. And that's what separates many students from other students.
Right. And if I can add something, I guess I would say when you write it, ask family, friends, teachers, or someone close to you to read it and ask them, does this sound like me? Or does this convey who I am?
And that made me remember how I wrote mine because I remember I had about 15 drafts of my essay. I gave it to my English teachers, to my friends, and to my parents as well. They had to read it and they gave me some advices. And all those advices will help. So don't just write by yourself, ask others to help you.
Yeah. And our next question is, I think you can answer this well. If I applied and failed to be a grantee, can I apply again as long as I fit the qualifications?
I think there's a regulation, at least for GKS, that if you fail and I'm not sure what you mean by failed to be a grantee. Did you forfeit your application? If you did, then you cannot apply to GKS anymore. They have this regulation that if you passed the GKS and then you forfeited it, then you cannot apply again. But if you just failed, like what I did in 2014, then you can apply again.
Yeah. So if you fail to get the scholarship in the first place, right, you can apply again. Is there a limit on how many times you can apply?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe the limit is the age, because every year you
Right.
gain 1 year.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, you can search again the information about the GKS scholarship for more detailed information. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? I think I saw one in the comment section. How long does it take to be fluent in Korean? I guess not really related, but for you, how long did it take for you?
In my case, kasi, I was too focused in Korean during my Korean language year, because it was a challenge to me to learn Korean. So I just decided to remove all distractions. I focus like just learning Korean. So I got topic level 4 just in my first 6 months. And from that, I started speaking with other students, with every Korean that I could meet, even the ajuma in a restaurant, or the old guy in a taxi. I would talk to them in Korean just to practice speaking. So it depends on how much commitment you have into learning the language. But generally, Korean is one of the easiest Asian languages that you can learn, because it's a very systematic and scientific language.
Right.
So if you just give it time and effort, you can easily learn Korean. You can learn writing in just a few hours. Right?
Right.
It's almost the same. You can easily speak an entire sentence just by learning it in one day. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you have like a dedicated time for it, it's like really easy to learn. In my case, I went straight into studying, and we had Korean classes alongside regular classes. So I think I'm not at the fluent level, pero conversational, because we had those classes. And yeah, as Ace said, it's pretty easy to learn writing and reading. The challenge for me, especially, is like the context and speaking, because that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Do we have any other questions that we have not answered yet? Yeah, I think we answered most or all of the questions in the comments. Oh, okay. Recommendation letter. How did you request a recommendation letter? Actually, how many did you need for GKS?
For GKS, I was required to give 2 letters at that time. But for undergraduates this year, I think only 1 recommendation letter is required. So in that case, in my time, I had to get it from my teachers in high school, who were related to my intended major, which is chemical and biomolecular engineering. So I got one from my biology teachers.
And does it have to be from your professor or teacher, I guess?
If possible, yeah, get it from your professor or teacher, because the recommendation letter's content must be focused on your academic abilities. So because you're not applying for a job, although there are students who pass GKS by having internship or employment recommendation letters, it's preferable to have it from your professors or teachers.
Yeah. Same for me. I think I needed 2. I don't know if they decreased that as well, but yeah. Okay. I think some questions we're getting is asking about, is it easier to get a job after graduating from a Korean university? We'll have a whole other Kapehan session dedicated to that topic. But yeah, Ace, do you have any like brief insights if you're familiar with this?
During the pandemic, it's difficult, especially for foreigners. There are limited opportunities for foreigners to get accepted, especially if your Korean language ability is limited. So But generally, compared to other countries, including the Philippines, it's easier to find a job. So, however, I think the immigration now has a policy where you have to get a job to a position that is related to your major in university. Because I remember my friend in Yonsei, he had to find a job related to his major in order to get the employment visa. So, yeah.
I see. Yeah, stay tuned for our different Kapehan talking about getting a job after graduating. Yeah, I guess some questions we're getting is like applying. So if you're a grade 11 student, you can't apply yet, right? You have to graduate grade 12.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's good to
You need
start
to be
preparing.
you need to either be graduating before March 1st or already graduated.
Yeah. But it's good to start preparing early if you really want to study abroad. Studying
Yeah.
here. Yeah. Okay, let's see. We have a couple of minutes left. I guess we have one question. Are you applying or have you applied for graduate studies in Korea?
Right now I'm applying simultaneously for a job and for master's position in universities. So I haven't gotten any reply yet because I started applying just a month ago. So whatever comes first, I will get it. So
I
yeah,
see. Good luck with your applications.
thank you.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions we have and all the time we have. Thank you again, Ace, for sharing your experiences and advice with us.
Thank you for having me here as well.
And thank you to everyone who watched and for all your questions. We hope this kapihan ay nakatulong sa inyo. Yep, I'll pass it back to Ate Bianca.
Yep. Great. Thank you so much, Jamie and Ace, for that very insightful talk. I'm sure marami tayong natutunan. On fire din yung ating comment section. Everyone's got a lot of questions regarding studying here in Korea. I hope we were able to answer your questions. If you have any more questions, maybe you can leave that in the comment section. But I think we answered pretty much everything. Baka yung iba late lang dumating. Don't worry, we'll be uploading naman the replay of this video both on Facebook and on YouTube. So you can watch it again for those who missed it. And sa mga friends nyo na hindi alam na may ganitong event today, share nyo na rin sa kanila so we can help each other out. Okay, so I guess we have time for a few promotions. Unahin na natin yung PIKO, syempre. So again, we have our GA, so that's our General Assembly, Fall General Assembly on October 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Korea Standard Time. If you have the time, registration is still ongoing, so register na tayo and join us on the fun on October 2, that's Saturday. Okay, if you guys are free. So Jamie and Ace, you guys will be there, right? Baka you guys, our viewers, can join us and ask them more questions on the GA. Ayan, kung may pahabol kayo. Anyway, okay, so that's one. And then we also have for our co-PIKOs, mga kapiko natin dyan na nanonood. So we have our esports 2021 coming this October. So this is open to all registered PIKO students. So further details will be announced in our GA. So please make sure to be there para makasali. So exciting to, guys. So make sure to join. And then to anyone who has any more questions regarding studying in Korea or anything under the sun regarding life in Korea, so hindi lang undergraduate, pwede ring master's, PhD, or traveling in Korea, we highly suggest you guys visit this page, this Facebook page, Travel Korea. So Belle is also part of PIKO. She is currently the secretary of the PIKO Execom. So visit her page. Ang daming sobrang gandang information sa page niya. So sample, we have this. So very well-made infographic regarding scholarships that are being offered in Korea. So the most popular ones. So we have, eto lahat to na-tackle ni Ace and ni Jamie kanina. But I guess just a brief summary of those. So we have GKS here. We have some government scholarships like KOICA. And then we also have professor or laboratory funded scholarships. So here, yung mga benefits, requirements, and other tips that she has. And then university funded scholarship programs as well. So here. Ayan. So I think that's it for PIKO. So make sure to follow or like Belle's page. That's Travel Korea on Facebook. Search nyo lang, Travel Korea. Okay, very helpful. And then for our guest speakers, they also have some things to promote. Maybe let's start with Jamie.
Yep, so I just wanted to quickly share. I'm part of an organization called SIDHI, which was founded by Filipino high school students who recognize the need for mentorship sa high school research. So alam naman natin na mahirap mag-research for high school, and it's a school requirement now para sa most of our high school students in the Philippines. So this organization matches mentees with mentors to help them with their high school research requirements, or kahit if you want to join like an international or local research or science competition, we can help provide guidance for that. So our program is gonna start for this school year actually today, and we're accepting a few more applications for our mentees. You can just find SIDHI Mentorship on Facebook. You can email us, and also if we have people who are interested to become mentors in the audience, our applications for mentors are open too for like second year college and above. If you want to help high school students in research and science, feel free to join us. Thank you.
Yes, ayan. So sa mga nagtatanong kanina regarding requirements then sa applications, maybe Jamie can be of help. Yeah, so contact her. So the Facebook page and LinkedIn page is here as well. So take note of that. Screenshot nyo na guys para mabalikan nyo siya in the future when you need. Okay, and then let's move on to... sorry, Jamie, do you have any social media you want to promote?
Yep, I just wanted to share if you have any questions about studying in Korea from high school to undergrad, and especially about university-specific scholarships like for KAIST and UNIST, feel free to contact me. Just message me on Facebook. I'll leave it on the comment section on Facebook then.
All right, we'll wait for that. Okay, so Ace, how about you? Do you have anything? Oh, I'm sure you have, but go ahead.
Yeah, so this is my startup, which is called Scholars Academy. We are a group of students who guide students or coach students on their applications in specific fully funded scholarships abroad, like Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and Hungarian scholarships. So right now, I am the KGSP mentor or the GKS mentor. So I coach students on how to apply to the GKS scholarship program. And right now we have more than 200 students in the coaching program. We also have free consultations, and I will post the link of that free consultation page on the comment section. But generally, you can contact us through Facebook. Just search Scholars Academy on Facebook and on Instagram if you want to know more about these fully funded scholarship applications and our coaching services as well.
Great, perfect. Okay, Ace, do you have any personal social media you want to promote?
You can also search me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Just search my name, Ace Apolonio. And if you have questions related to applications to scholarships abroad, you can ask me personally, or you can ask through my startup, which is Scholars Academy as well. Yeah.
Alright. Thank you, guys. So, ayan, sobrang dami na nating resources na pwedeng puntahan para sa ating requirements for applications for university undergraduate scholarship sa Korea. So, sobrang malaking tulong to sa ating viewers, I'm sure. And I hope we were of help to those who are interested to apply. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, Jamie and Ace. Salamat sa pagpapaunlak at salamat sa inyong insights. I think we can end the live here. Hanggang sa muli, I think we will have a lot more opportunities to talk about this since maraming ang interested to apply. Siguro a quick disclaimer, since we're still in the middle of the pandemic. Applications are still being held. Pwede mag-apply pero coming to Korea, medyo mahirap pa rin kasi naman our situation, it's still difficult to travel. So I guess keep that in mind when you apply. For now, as far as we know, only government scholarships are being accepted dito sa Korea. So maybe, yeah. So sabi nga ni Ace kanina, diba? Plan ahead. Make sure you know what you're getting into. Alam nyo yung mga, baka nag-apply kayo pero hindi pala kayo makakapunta. So that's a bit of a bummer. So yeah, plan ahead. Know your requirement. Know all the details of the degree or the program that you're applying for. All right. That's all. Thank you, guys. And I hope you have nice afternoon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Let's end